My name is Valerie Long. I'm a resident of Brewton, Alabama. I'm also the owner and the manager of Longevity Antiques here in Brewton. I've been in business for approximately 17 years. I went to school for business management. So my dream was always to own my own business, and basically instilled to me by my mom. She was a partner in a cosmetology shop, and even though I worked retail for other corporations, she always told me you should always own your own business. And eventually, at the age of 45, I followed through on that, and it has been a dream come true. The antique business is something that I guess was kind of a natural progression for me because I was a collector as a kid. Started collecting black and white photos, old children's books, and coins. Our father was in the Korean War and served overseas, and of course he from time to time would send back coins from some of his travels, and those things were the things that got me started in what is old. I also was fortunate enough to have met 3 of my great-grandparents, all of which were born in the 1800s, and one of which lived to be almost 100 years old. So hearing a lot of the stories, seeing the things that they had in their house, I grew up with those things. And unlike some kids, fell in love with them. And they have followed me throughout my life. So when I got to this point, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And it was to surround myself with the things I was surrounded with as a kid. The idea of owning your own business in a small town in South Alabama is kind of unheard of for a black person, even at the time that I started. But I was also the first black retail manager in Brewton, so for me a first is not an unusual thing. It seemed to have been a path that I was directed to go in, and I've enjoyed the ride. It has been a lot of benefits in it because I've met some of the nicest people that I never would have met otherwise, and I've been able to see some things that even beyond what I've collected and had handled, and learn more about them. I love history, so it kind of ties everything I love together, and has been a dream come true. So I think I couldn't imagine doing anything differently at this point in my life, and I feel blessed to have gotten to that point. Well, I knew as a child I wanted to own my own business. I traveled a lot. We had a grandfather who was, I was their firstborn grandchild, and as he would shop around, because he had a limited education, I went with him, and to see what business owners did then and how things were handled made me want to do what I saw doing. The collecting part kind of made me want to do a little bit more of that, to get more involved with it, be able to gather more things. I managed retail stores for different companies from the time I started working after college. And like I said, we're in small town America, so the opportunities are limited here. But I never had a gap until our 5-year-old daughter was getting ready to enter preschool, and her caretaker was my grandmother. She passed away, and I decided to come home and be a stay-at-home mom. My husband worked out of town, so I thought I would enjoy doing that, being hands-on, but I missed the retail side of it. And of course, like everyone else, a little extra money doesn't hurt. So I decided to sell some of the things I collect, find out a little bit more about them, do a little wheeling and dealing from my house. And that went on for about 2 years. And at some point, I met a couple at a shop that I was in there shopping for items. And in talking with them, they were looking for someone to help them out. I initially just rented a booth, as we call it in the business, to sell some of the things that I was selling out of my house. But because of some health issues with them, they later asked me to work for them. So I kind of did an apprenticeship with them for about 2.5 years. Their health continued to decline, and they wanted to sell me the business. It was a great business and very well established, but not a great location. And so after a little bit of debate, I decided to open my own business, doing the same thing. I had made the contacts once again, but in a better location. And approximately 17 years ago, that's what I did. And thus Longevity Antiques was born. And as everyone says, everyone wants to see their name in lights. So my last name is Long. I was able to incorporate that in the name of the business. The longevity name actually came from what the word means, long life, which is exactly, what antiques have had. They have had a long life. So it's a one-word title that kind of tied everything that was significant to me together and made it easy to remember. So I thought that would be perfect for what I decided to do. The benefits that I've reaped from having my own business, to me, can be summed up in one word, and I would say freedom. Even though I'm a very dedicated person to the business, I spend a lot of extra hours doing things before work, after work, going to view items. It does allow me, should I need family time, to have that family time. Church time. I am a very dedicated person to priorities. God is first in my life. The family is next. My friends, and then everything else falls wherever it falls, whatever place that is. So if I'm needed by a family member, if I'm needed to do something at church, I don't have to schedule time off. I can post it and take that time off. And also the freedom to meet more people, to travel, to see more things, get a call that there is an estate somewhere. People I wouldn't have met in other aspects, I get to meet them, learn about their stories, how they get things they have, the significance of it to them, the histories behind it, and there's some things you just can't put a price on, and those things mean a lot to me, as far as, the more so than just the dollars that go through the register. I think, in summary, the business longevity, it means long life. Like I said, what the business is, what I want the business to have, in essence. And I think what we name things matter. It's if you call that, that's what it is. If the word says, call those things that be not as though they were. I wanted the business to have a long life. I deal with things that have had a long life. I want to have a long life. And I thought this would be a perfect name for it. And after 17 years, I think there has been some longevity in this business. And I'm not done, so there should be more. And I hopefully will be able to continue to do what I do, meet more people, and have long-lasting relationships. That's another thing that kind of ties the longevity name to it. I've enjoyed the ride and not ready to get off the train yet. So hopefully it'll continue, and my story will continue and be passed on to someone else that maybe inspire them to do the same thing and follow their dream.